Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us today. If you'd like to give us a call, we'll pay for the call, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. Telephone listen lines are down still. I have no update for when they'll be back. I'm Vincent Finelli. Jason is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia. Welcome, Guineith.
Hello, Vincent. How are you today?
I am so well. I thank you for asking. Our class would like to know, are you okay as a result of the bush fires in Australia that we talked about last week?
Yes. There was a set of bushfires probably around about 40 miles from here, but they didn't come near our place. And I have friends who live in that location, and they were safe as well. So
well, that's great.
I'm really blessing God for that. Mm-hmm. And because I would have been very, very sad if my friends, of course, had not been safe either. But I'm glad that their property managed to escape, and the fires were basically burning within just a few miles of where they were, but they were unaffected.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
bless God for that. That's
and
good.
you had some high winds, didn't you?
Oh yes,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did. We had probably about 80 mile per hour winds. But we get these sorts of winds, maybe about a dozen times a year where we live. So they're not exactly rare. So we're used to them. And just when we get these sorts of high winds in the forest, we just make sure we keep out of the forest. Because what they do tend to do is they tend to send down a new load of firewood from the sky,
right.
you know. So
yes.
we don't have to, cut trees where we are because it's a eucalyptus forest. If anyone has eucalyptus trees where they're growing, where they live, they have to be aware that they drop branches in a high wind. So, we just stay out of the forest, and then later on we go up, and there's usually a few new branches that have dropped, which is nice. But it's nice if you're not there. And the people who were in this house before us, they made sure that they cleared all of the eucalyptus trees for quite a distance around the house so that there's never going to be any danger of one of these branches falling on our roof. Because these eucalyptus trees, they're maybe 100 feet tall. So they're quite big trees, and they would be, some of the trunks would be about 3 feet across at the base. So they're really big, and most of them have been cut at some time or other, but the thing about this type of tree is they're a type of tree known as a coppicing tree, which means when you cut them down at the base, if you leave the root in the ground, they're going to send up new shoots. And those little shoots will eventually become new trees. Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yes, and I was thinking about you last night. We had a really high winds here at the farm, and we knew this was coming. So we have a picnic table outside, on our veranda, and we turned it upside down. It's a metal mesh top picnic table, if you will. It's and we have these steel chairs with metal mesh seats and backs, and we turned them on their backs. And the idea is that the wind would catch the chairs, the tables, and start making projectiles out of them. So when this happens, class, you should probably consider doing the same thing. Anything that can go airborne, anything that's light.
That's right. That's what
has
we
a lot.
do.
That has a lot of surface area. Even a pail, like a galvanized pail or a plastic bucket can go flying, and if at 20, 30 miles an hour, go right through your windows. So what we do is
that can become quite a projectile.
Yes. And so there's a lot of surface area for the wind to grab and make into a projectile. So what we do is we try not to have things that can go flying around our house outside anyway. But we do have a table, and we do turn it upside down so that only the legs are standing up, so it doesn't make a big sail, and it stays in place. But it was really, really windy last night, and just before the broadcast, I checked to see if we had any damage, and everything seemed to be just fine. So, you can turn up the radio and listen to music and just assume that or pretend nothing's happening. When there's fires around you, or when the ship is sinking, or when the weather is dangerous for you, or you can prepare and protect your property and lives. So that's what we do. We go into protection mode. Guineith, I don't want to share something with you. Tomorrow is the 4th Thursday in November, and I wanted to see what tomorrow was. So I went to a search engine before the broadcast, and I typed in Thanksgiving. I typed in that one word. First search result was Thanksgiving deals at JCPenney. So some people call it JCPenney, some people call it JCP. So the first search result for the word Thanksgiving, which has been around for a long time, is now Thanksgiving deals at JCPenney. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. So if you don't think that your search results are manipulated, class, I just proved to you that they are. So Thanksgiving is a national holiday in the United States. It commemorates the hard work of all working Americans and the giving of those works to our town, city, state, and federal governments. It's a day that government officials take off and relax and enjoy the bounty of the results of their rules, regulations, fees, licenses, and taxes on everything that moves. A day that Franklin Delano Roosevelt wanted to move back to the 3rd Thursday in November to increase sales for the Christmas season. He wanted to move it back 7 days so there could be more commerce going on during November and December. The U.S. Congress said no. So it's still the 4th Thursday in November. Now, it's also known as Thanksgiving Day by those whom have had stolen their land, resources, and property. It's a day of turkey trots, it's a day of turkey shoots, and it's a day of slaughtering turkeys and of gluttony. And it's a day to watch football, and that's one of America's most productive activities, which is followed by a mad dash of the GDP to buy things that they don't need with money that they don't have 24 hours later. And for those of us that USA Prepares, Thanksgiving is a day of remembrance, a day of what is important, remembering what's important, remembering what's valuable and necessary to us. And it's a day of family, a day of reflection, a day to look back and forward in our lives, and to be thankful for what we have and to prepare for our future challenges. Guineith, any comments?
Yeah, I'm actually we are going to have a little bit of a party here tomorrow, but it's not exact because we don't generally celebrate Thanksgiving in Australia. But it's my birthday on Friday, so we're going to have a little bit of a party here on Thursday because my son is going for a little bit of a holiday with some friends of his on next weekend. And it's something that I would like to mention because it occurred to me that it's maybe a bit unusual. And that is that he's going up to the Australia does have a small alpine region, okay, in central Victoria and southern New South Wales. And so the area that he's going to is Mansfield, which is near Mount Buller, and they're expecting snow this weekend. So at the end of November, in the mountains of Victoria, they are expecting snow this weekend, which, if you think about it, our seasons are the reverse of yours. I don't think that's quite normal. It's not unusual for them to have snow up there. They do have actually a skiing industry up there, but I don't think that they've had snow at the end of November or the beginning of December in quite some time, Vincent, because that's normally, I mean, we've just come out of a thing of bushfires last week, and now there's going to be snow up in the mountains. Not here, but up in the, they've got an elevation of maybe 1,400 metres, 1,400 feet maybe. And so it is kind of mountainous up there. They do have snow in the winter up there. They have a skiing industry. But, yeah, it's not exactly winter anymore here. So you wouldn't be expecting snow, but nevertheless that's going to happen. And I was listening on your broadcast yesterday about how you were saying that you're expecting an unusually harsh winter this year. Vincent.
Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, the reports are there are large swaths of the United States that's paralyzed as 30 inches of snow falls in Colorado, and they're calling it a bomb, B-O-M-B, cyclone, and it's pummeling the Northwest, it's closing interstates and canceling flights. So, it's the weather comes on fast and furious, and it takes people by surprise for not paying attention. And why people would fly, just because it's a government stated holiday, people will just take off. They'll pack the highways. They'll get in gridlock, all directions, and that's okay. That's what they do. I can't believe it. I would not subject myself to doing that. Make your own holiday. It doesn't have to be on a specific day. And Christmas is made up anyway. We'll be right back. So, class, as far as I know, no one knows the exact date of the birth of Jesus Christ. And because of that, Christmas is a made-up day. I mean, you can certainly celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, and I have no issue with that. I just have an issue with the commercialization of that. And to me, every day should be Christmas, the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ, rather than one specific made-up day. Guineith, any comments on that?
Well, what I know is that all through the ancient mythologies of the world, there was always a Christ figure. And, for example, in the ancient Indus religion, there was Krishna. And the Sanskrit word Krishna actually is where we get our English word Christ from. That's just linguistic fact, is that Krishna became Christos in Greek, which became Christ in English, and all the other Indo-European languages had variations on that. And the Indians regarded December the 25th. This is talking about the Asian Indians, not American Indians, but they regarded December the 25th as being the birth of Krishna, birthday of Krishna. And in ancient Egypt, they had a type of a Christ figure who was Osiris. And the Egyptians regarded the 25th of December as being the birthday of Osiris. So maybe he was, but there seems to be a tradition all over the world, even in very hot climates like India and Egypt, of having a birthday for the Christ or the Christ figure on the 25th of December. So I'm not bothered by it. I am a Christian. I do celebrate Christmas, and I regard it as being Christ's birthday. But if anyone else wants to, celebrate Christ's birthday on another day, it doesn't bother me. And I know that in the Eastern Orthodox religion, it's celebrated a couple of weeks later. I think it's, just a little bit after New Year's. The Greek Orthodox and the Russian Orthodox Church, they have their Christmas early in the new year rather than at the last week of December. So, but you're right. Nobody really knows for sure. They've never come across Jesus Christ's birth certificate, let me put it that way. But yeah. I think that you're right. I think that we ought to celebrate Jesus Christ every day because he's been so good for us. He died for us.
Well, I say my prayers every day, so I'm thinking that I celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ every day. So I'm thankful. Never in my prayers is something like, and don't forget, we want to win the lottery. That never happens.
People forget that not all of Jesus' promises were good and wonderful. He said, for example, in this life you will have trouble. And that's a promise of Christ as much as, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him might not perish but have everlasting life. And there's another prophecy that Jesus made, which I think is highly relevant to our current era. When he was asked what the end of days would be like, he said, many would be offended. How's that? He actually looked forward, and he said many would hate each other. These are also things that Jesus said. Besides the nice and fluffy stuff, he said, they've hated me, they'll hate you. These are also things he said. People want to think that Christianity is all gentle Jesus, meek and mild, look upon this little child. It ain't so. It says that the life of the Christian will be full of suffering. And actually, I think that's a good thing that the Catholic Church doesn't let their people to get that, whereas a lot of other churches out there, they would tend to whitewash the harsher side of Christianity. But Jesus never did. He said we'd always be persecuted. There'd always be ignorant.
Hold that thought. Class, Guineith Isaacs is with us, and she's in Australia. And we are extremely fortunate that we have correspondents in Austria, Spain, Australia, Guatemala, Canada, and all over the United States. We are extremely fortunate. I want to thank all of you. Guineith said, I believe, that Jesus said that we will always be persecuted. And he was right. And those who are doing the persecuting are called trolls. Guineith, back to you. So did we lose Guineith?
Hello? Are you there?
Okay. Yeah. Did you hear what I just said?
You did just drop out for about, a couple of seconds.
Okay, let me just repeat what I said. I believe that you said that Jesus said that we will always be persecuted. And he was right. And those who are doing the persecuting are called trolls.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not called that in the Bible, but in our modern world, that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the Bible, that they've got a few names. People think that infidel is a Muslim word. Actually, it's not. It's found in the Bible. Okay, they're called reprobate, and probate means somebody who's been given another chance. So a reprobate is somebody who's been given chance after chance after chance after chance to save themselves and change themselves, and they won't do it. And the Bible instructs us to, not even bother trying to change these people. The Bible's full of so much wisdom. It's an absolutely amazing book. It's a beautiful book. And if people would just take a certain amount of time each day to read the Bible, especially the book of Proverbs, and especially the book of Ecclesiastes, and especially the teachings of Jesus Christ, then they would have they would always still have trouble and hardship in their life, but they would have a much easier life, because the ones that I think have the toughest life of all, Vincent, are the blue-haired brigade, the ones who walk around with bones in their noses. I can't figure out why anybody who doesn't live somewhere like the highlands of Papua New Guinea or Central Africa, as a person who's been there for, thousands of years. Those people, I can understand why they walk around with bones in their noses, because that's their people and that's how they dress, that's how they've always dressed, and good on them, because that's their culture. Why anyone in the West would want to walk around with a bone in their nose, I don't know. It, the thought of it escapes me, It's something where we've tried for thousands of years in the West to get away from the bone-in-the-nose culture, the caveman culture, and then there's these people who want to go back to it. And personally, I can't understand it. I think that it's good knowing how to survive with very little, how to do without, how to hunt and gather. But these people, they walk around with bones in their noses and hoops in their, hoops of the round things that they wear in their ears. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I know. I know exactly what you mean.
They don't even have the traditional skill.
I know exactly what you mean. You go to the auto parts. You go to the auto parts store and
emulate.
You go to the auto parts store and there's a guy behind the counter and says, "Yeah, what can I do for you?" And he's got these things in his ears to make his earlobes expand. And I'm sure he thinks it looks great, but what it does to me is it helps me subtract at least 20% from his IQ. And then I think, okay, we start with 100, we're down to 80 IQ. Is this guy going to be able to help me? That's what I'm thinking. And I see the same thing when blue hair is involved. In my mind, I go, let's see, 100 minus 20, 80 IQ. I don't think this person can help me. Now, of course, that's my own equation. That's something, no one taught me that. I'm just thinking, if someone is that risky in their behavior, how would I trust them to help me pick out something or select something? Like a hot water heater or an electrical device or carpeting or auto parts or whatever. How sure would I be if I'm making a 40 or 50 mile round trip to the auto parts store that someone that looks like that is going to actually get me the right part so that when I get home and try to install it, it actually is going to fit? That's how I'm looking at it today. I'm looking at people who are flipping hamburgers and they look like that, and I think, you know what? I don't think I want them touching anything that I'm going to eat, so I don't eat out. I don't eat out. I bring my own water with me. I bring my own food with me. I do not want to eat out today. And it used to be fun.
Yeah.
I used to like it. Now I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well,
If I'm in Springfield, Missouri,
lack skill.
right? If I'm in Springfield,
these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I'm in Springfield, Missouri, and Mrs. Finelli and I are starving, we've been out all day and we're really, really hungry. And that's starving. It's like an exaggeration. Of course, we would just be hungry. I would look at her and say, I don't want to stop and get anything to eat. Let's go home. Let's spend another hour in the truck and we'll go home and we'll have something at home, because I just don't want to do it for a lot of reasons. I mean, one of them is the hygiene. Another is I don't want to pay the tax, and another is I don't want to spend the extra percentage to have someone else flip my food. I was talking to Joey on the phone, and I mentioned that to him. I was at the junk store. I was buying some parts for the farm, used parts, and I was in line, and there was this woman behind me, and we're kind of, this is a great place to buy used things, and she said, yeah, and I said, and I come here first because I don't want to pay the tax. So 8% tax is a big deal to me. I don't want to pay it. I will go out of my way not to feed the machine. Literally. I do whatever I can legally to not pay tax. And if it means buying it used, I'd be delighted to do that. If it means buying it at a garage sale or yard sale or on Craigslist, I will do that. Whatever it is, I don't want to pay tax because I don't want to feed the beast. And I don't want to be around people very much anymore. I just don't want to do it. Guineith, we used to open up our home to people, and people would be coming by. They'd listen to us or they'd hear us on the radio, and they'd want to come over and, hey, can I, come on over and say hi? No, can't do it anymore because I don't know who they are. And who's done this? The trolls. The trolls have caused all of this. All of it. The trolls have caused me to shut down our website. The trolls have caused me, why? Because if I post a link to an article, then I get threatened by a lawyer that I posted someone else's work. I post it and say, here it is. Here's who wrote it. Here, click here, and here's the link. No, and lawyers come after us. I don't want to do that. So, we're just gradually pulling away from a lot of the things that we used to do. A lot of things we used to do. Am I going to help Lead Electric anymore? No. When I see someone with a flat tire on the road, am I going to help? No. Why? Because I don't know who he is. I don't know. If I know who it is, if I've already made those friends, absolutely I will help. But if I don't know, no, I won't. And that's the way I've become. Not because my mother and father raised me to be like that. It's that people around me have taught me to be like that. The people around me, there are too many of them that it's a one-way street. Too many people want your help, but will not help you in return. So I've learned that. So I can't help them. That's the way I am today. Guineith, are you becoming that way, or are you still helping people that are in need?
Well, it varies. Once again, Jesus said it. He said, because of the iniquity shall abound, okay, the love of the great body of people shall grow cold. And how did Jesus define love? Helping your neighbor. That's how he defined love. It's all prophecy. It's all coming through. It means that Jesus is coming back soon. And it depends on who the person is. I like to try and help people if I can, but I'm not happy. I'm more selective these days on who I help.
That's
okay?
Very well said. Very well said.
Yeah. It's if somebody is obviously not wanting to be helped or wanting to suck me dry, I'm going to tell them to walk the plank. basically. I'm going to tell them to rack off because I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to put up with people bullying me anymore. Anyone who comes along thinking that they can bully me into submission has got a really, really big surprise coming, because they are going to find out that they have got a fight on their hands. And I was always bullied as a child, but I first began that attitude of not putting up with bullies anymore when I was about 14. And it was probably right about the same time that I went through puberty. And I think that the problem is that a lot of these fat, blue-haired people and the ones with bones through their noses, they think that they, and hoops in their ears, they think that they are, something because of this jewelry. If they ever really met anyone who was genuinely from a bone-wearing tribe, from Papua New Guinea, or from, somewhere like Central Africa or somewhere like that, they wouldn't survive for 2 minutes, because these people know how to survive. And they're very, very cunning people, and many of these tribes are actually cannibal tribes to this day in parts of the world like that. And so they think that they're being cool. They don't realize that, they say, oh, we shouldn't have cultural appropriation, blah, 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 blah. But they don't realize that by putting, things in their, piercings and this sort of thing, I'm just waiting for the lip plate to show up. I'm waiting for the lip plates. I think that that's going to be the really, really next big fashion. And if you want to see what a lip plate is, just type in Amazonian tribe lip plate or something like that. They have this big plate which is maybe 3 or 4 inches round, and it dangles off the front of their lip in certain African and Amazonian tribes.
Yeah, it's disgusting. All right, we'll be right back. Class, Guineith mentioned a lip plate. And if you want to know what a lip plate is, imagine trying to swallow a tambourine, okay? and having.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that's about it. And so you see a lot of indigenous people when you type lip, L-I-P, space P-L-A-T-E, and you click on images, you'll see a lot of indigenous people that modeling their designs. And you'll see some with 1 lip plate, and you'll see some with 2. Now, if you look at a person with 2 lip plates, that'd be an upper and a lower, it would look like, from the side, it would look like the bill of a duck. Okay? Because that would be how far it would protrude.
Yeah.
Well, the bill of a duck. I mean, if you look from the side, that's what it would look like.
That's right.
And so most of the images that you'll find are of people who are black. But trying to catch up with them are a few people who you'll see images of who are not black. They're white. And they will have things like these disfiguring things in their earlobes. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about if you could take a checker, like chess and checkers, if you could take a checker and expand your earlobe, slice it open and stick a checker in there, that's what this one guy has. So he has that in each side, and he's got some piercings through his nose and his lip and his eyebrow and things pierced inside his ear. I mean, this guy, I'd really like to be able to hire somebody like that to work for me. It's unbelievable. Like these beads stuck through at the top of his nose, a ring through his nose. He looks as disfigured as possible. What kind of a job would somebody like that have? I can't imagine. I mean, other than a freak in a show. Other than that. And this is what young people want to look like. And I have some words of caution for them. If they ever want to change their mind, it's going to be tough. If they say, you don't want to go back to looking like most other people, it's going to be tough to go back from a freak to the way God made us. Guineith, you were one to talk about the law and defending yourself. Some people might say representing yourself. Others might say, no, you're just being you in the legal environment. What did you want to share with that environment with us today?
Okay, well, I've had a few occasions in the past, in fact, quite a few occasions in the past, where I've had, some really quite evil people quite literally come up to my gate and tell me that that I was under arrest for things like exposing the neighbourhood pedophiles on YouTube. And apparently they say that you're not allowed to do that. These people on this occasion, they were raping between 2 and 3 children a day, and they were stalking my sons. My sons at the time were small children. They are no longer small children. They are now, one of them is almost 6 foot tall, the other one is well over 6 foot tall. And they've taken up an interest in martial arts. And we've also taken up an interest in archery. And so if anybody wanted to, try and hurt them now, I think that they would find that they were in a little bit of trouble. And because I stood up for myself, my sons were never raped. But I found that I had to defend myself in court at that time. And I soon realized that I wasn't given a choice in this matter, by the way. If I'd been given a choice, then, I would not have dealt with their system. But they forced me into their system, quite literally at the point of the gun. But anyway, that's kind of beside the point. I learned before then how to represent myself in court. And that actually ended up with us fleeing interstate and with me basically activating some dead man switches over myself and my children, which means that if they ever decide that they want to come and get us, then there are going to be consequences to them in the form of information release. And they know that. And, but yeah, it's oh my gosh. But I've had to do this a few times, and I want to sort of talk about what people should do if they ever find themselves in that particular situation. Now, that said, I cannot give legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. But what I do these days is I help people.
Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Just want to mention very quickly, Friday, hour number 2 will be tips from my notebooks. And so hour number 2 will be just me. And if you've got some preparedness suggestions, if you've got a better way of doing things, I'd love to hear from you on hour number 2 on Friday, which has become our tips day. Rich Sheben is joining us. Guineith Isaacs is live in Australia. Rich Sheben, welcome.
Well, thank you, Vince. How you doing, Guineith? How you doing, Vince, today?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hey, I just wanted to chime in real quickly. I think the last time I chimed in when it wasn't my day is when Rick asked me to actually call in. I think that was many months ago. But I just want to put in my 2 cents on the segment when you were talking about helping people. I don't think you guys give yourself enough credit. And I'm here to give you a kudos and a pat on the back because this is why we do the shows. We volunteer to give advice, to help people. You know, I give away, I've listened to you, Guineith, and Vince for many years, and, you know, you do a lot of things on your daily basis for people that I don't think you take enough credit for. You know, I give away meat and produce, 50% of what I harvest I give away just free. I give financial and economic advice. I've done off-grid tours for at least 1,000 people. I mean, what we talk about on the air is outside-the-box self-sufficiency thinking. I look at it as a public audio patriotic assembly, if you will. I feel it's an obligation for free, loving nationalists that includes everyone. And so I just want to let you know that I think we all do our part, and I think one of the biggest, most important things right now is courage, is being brave, is having guts, and having a backbone. And too many people are afraid to speak up because of things like political correctness. And I think what you guys do on the air is absolutely essential because I think the free world, all Westerners, the whole world is desperate for courage right now. And I think political correctness has stifled a lot of what a lot of people think and want to say and are afraid to do it. So I just wanted to chime in with my 2 cents there, you guys, and say thank you to both of you for what you do. So have a great day. Happy Thanksgiving, Vince, and to America. And Guineith, I hope you keep avoiding the fires down there. Take care.
Yep. I think we'll be okay.
Thank you, Rich Sheben. I appreciate that. Interesting comments. And Rich is right. The instructors at USA Prepares are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. Yeah, and some broadcasts, let's just tell it like it is. Some broadcasters pay the radio stations to get their message heard because they're because they're selling something. Okay, literally, they are selling something. Or what they do is they pay the radio stations, and then they sell ads that they get compensated for. So let's say broadcaster A has an hour broadcast or an hour show, and he pays, let's say, $500 a month to be on 1 hour a day, and maybe once a week. And then that broadcaster goes out and says, hey, we got some great information on our broadcast. We talk about football, or we talk about baseball, or we talk about vacations. And if you'd like to advertise with us, we'll put your words in front of our listeners. And then they'll sell advertising. And the idea is to sell more advertising than the $500 it costs to be on for a month. That's how radio works today in many, many instances. Then you have other broadcasters who might get paid by the station, but they're very, very, very few. Normally, those are the news and, the names that you recognize. But there are other broadcasters like, they're financial advisor types and real estate advisor types, and they will give you their message. But you can buy their book, you can go to their seminars, you can get their videos, and they'll try for a fee, and that's how they get compensated. And then there's us, and nobody gets compensated. All of us are volunteers, and we will not pay to be on the radio. I've been asked to pay to be on the radio, and I said, I don't mind volunteering to teach a class. I don't mind volunteering to organize USA Prepares so that we can show up every day, Monday through Friday, for 2 hours. I don't mind doing that. Actually, I like doing that. But I'm not going to pay to do it. If I have to pay, I'll just go back to using those hours for farming, where I would get paid. So I don't mind volunteering. And I don't mean like, I don't mind volunteering. No, I enjoy volunteering. I really do. But I won't pay to volunteer. I will not do it. And I will not ask our instructors to pay to volunteer either. There was a time when we were asked to contribute to satellite fees, and some of the instructors thought that we should, take up a collection, and we should all give and pay the satellite fees. And some of our class said that that we should have the equivalent of a begathon, where we beg for money, all the time, and that will pay the fees. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I will not. I will not beg for money to volunteer to broadcast. I won't do it. So I'm learning how this goes. And someday we're going to go away. Someday USA Prepares will be no more. But our plan is to teach you how to think. Teach you some of the things that we've learned, all of us, the sum of the instruction here at USA Prepares is to teach you how to think, how to do things a little better, how to think outside the box, as Rich Sheeman just said, and to avoid some of the pitfalls that we have discovered, some of the potholes that the GDP just don't even see. So that's our mission. Our mission is to help you, but we're not asking for anything in return. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If you want to buy Rick Miller's books, great. If you don't, okay. If you want to buy Guineith's books, great. If you don't, she's still going to be on the air whether you buy them or not. And so am I. But there's going to come a time when we are no longer on the air. And the reason I say that is if you look or listen to what is on the air today, it's tripe. The vast majority of what I hear on over-the-air radio is absolute tripe. It's awful. It's meaningless. It's hurry, hurry, hurry. Contest. You can win a $9 ticket. Imagine that. To something that you would not want to go to. You can get your nails done. You can win a ticket, or you can win an experience of having your nails done. Class, you can't do your nails yourself? Really? I know you can. So none of that's meaningful to us. Sports, that's... What is the net positive result of sports? Who owns the stadiums? That'd be the city and state governments, right? Who charges you $6 for a beer? Only be the city and state governments, right? Welcome to the 65,000 arena of being fleeced. So we are just a small speck in the spectrum of radio. Just USA Prepares, just a small speck. But we're so different. We actually teach. And that's why the people who are on the radio at USA Prepares are called instructors. That's what we do. We teach. We all love teaching. But most radio is not teaching. Most radio is entertainment for the masses, the generally dumb public. It is awful. And I was talking to Joey last night about this, and I actually now have a problem identifying with being on the radio, not because of Genesis Communications Network, not because of Republic Broadcasting Network, not because of the Ron Gibson channel or the other outlets that make us available, not because of that, but because of everything else. The generally dumb broadcasts that are out there. It is ridiculous. You can't sing the music today because it's impossible. It doesn't rhyme. Music is not music anymore. It's just noise. Talk radio has become meaningless. It's repeat what was just said a few minutes ago. And then they repeat it again. And that's what's out there. It's conditioning. And I resent being thrown in that mix. And I don't know how to fix that. So, and someday, I don't know when, I'm not saying it's soon, but someday we just won't be on the air. We're just going to, one day you'll try to tune in and we'll be gone. No fanfare, it'll just be gone. Guineith, is radio in Australia as bad as it is in the cities in the United States of America? Is it that bad?
It's mostly worse. As impossible as that may be to contemplate, it's mostly even worse. I can only really think of one or two or three really, really good radio shows here in Australia. One of the really better commentators is Andrew Bolt, and there's he works for, funnily enough, he works for Rupert Murdoch, Sky News, but and he also writes for the Herald Sun, which is Rupert Murdoch's newspaper. But Rupert Murdoch, with Andrew Bolt, more or less lets him have free rein. So, Rupert Murdoch's not perfect, but I admire his courage in allowing Andrew Bolt to say what he needs to say. And the other fellow, or two fellows, they have a radio show. They're called Michael Holt and John Palmer. And Michael Holt and John Palmer have a very, very good radio show. It's constitutionalist. Now, we in Australia have a Australian Commonwealth of Australia Constitution, which gives us a lot of rights, and they're being trampled underground as well. But around here, if I turn on the radio, I get the left-wing ABC, and it's pathetic. And I probably within 15 or 20 minutes, I get fed up with it and turn it off. So we have radio sets here, but they're hardly ever used.
Yep. Okay, when we come back, let's talk about the legal system and how to fight back with Guineith Isaacs. USA Prepares correspondent Guineith Isaacs is with us live in Australia, as she is every Wednesday for 2 hours. Guineith, the legal system, you have been battling with people trying to steal your property, your rights, your money, your children. Some people would use the term representing yourself. Some people would say being yourself in the court of law. What would you like to share about that with us?
Okay. Firstly, I would like to say I would be, if I was in that situation again, which I'm not at the moment, incidentally, I have learned to do the best I can to keep the situation out of court in the first place, okay? Now, what that can mean, okay, you have the right, if you have people coming along and giving you a bad time, you have the right to offer out-of-court settlement, okay, which doesn't necessarily mean you paying out a big sum of money. For example, a while back, a few years ago, I was T-boned by a 18-wheeler in my farm truck. If I'd been in a regular vehicle, I probably would have been killed. But as it is, I was in an Isuzu type 1-ton farm truck, and it was pretty stout. And my truck was basically written off and hasn't been driven since that night. But the police, by the way, the 18-wheeler, I indicated to turn to the right, okay, onto a side road, which was to the right. We drive on the left in this country, okay. The 18-wheeler attempted to overtake me after I had indicated, on the right, after I'd indicated to turn to the right, on a no passing zone, which in our country is marked by a double white line, on a railway crossing at an intersection. So this lorry driver did everything wrong. This truck driver did everything wrong. And not only that, before he was trying to pass me, he was actually following me so close that I could not see his headlights in my rear vision mirror. So he would have only been probably about between 3 and 5 feet behind me. And, you know, I had a dash cam. I had dash cam footage of the incident. And I did, you know, I have to be very careful what I say here, okay? I made sure that dash cam footage was kept nice and safe because I knew that the police would destroy the dash cam footage if they could, because I knew what they were like in my area, that I'd already been standing up to them against a sex racketeering scam that they'd been conducting, and I made YouTube videos about that too. I have been a thorough thorn in their side, Vincent. And, you know, this has been an ongoing thing for many years. I actually walk my walk and I talk my talk, but I walk the walk as well. And that's what you have to do. Now, I made sure that evidence was kept nice and safe. I didn't necessarily do what they wanted me to do, but the evidence, but the reason why I did what I did was to keep the evidence safe, okay, which was the dash cam footage. Now, the police did come and trespass on my land. They searched without a warrant my property, and I went out there. This was just a few days after the accident. I ranted and raved and told them to get off my land because they were doing an unwarranted search, which was a big black mark against them. Everything that they did in this case was a big black mark. And it ended up that I said I offered a plea bargain to them. I think we're heading into a break, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. And we'll be right back, and you can tell us about the result of you offering a plea bargain to them. Guineith Isaacs, live in Australia. Guineith, how would one find you on the internet if they're interested in buying one of your books?
Okay. If you go to I've actually got a website now for my book, The Lover of the Pirate King. Okay. And I haven't been able to set up merch facilities on the website yet, but you can fill in the form, send it off, and I will get your details in my inbox, and, you know, you provide me with your PayPal details, and I'll provide you with the book. If you live in the lower 48 states of the United States, okay? Otherwise, that's the best way to buy my book because of this reason. Amazon has been cheating me out of my royalties. That is absolutely for sure. I know that. I'm absolutely positive of that. Proving it is quite another story. But my book has been picked up for distribution by the Book Depository in the UK. It's been picked up by Australia's two biggest book retailers, who are Angus and Robertson and Dimmock. Okay, so you can go into any Angus and Robertson or Dimmock store. That's our equivalent of Barnes and Noble. Okay, I don't know that we have Barnes and Noble here, but anyone can go into any Dimmock or Angus and Robertson bookstore in Australia, and they can order The Lover of the Pirate King, and Angus and Robertson or Dimmock will order it for you, or you can buy it online from them. So there's no way that the minuscule number of books that have sold is the true sales volume. Because I'll tell you this, Vincent, book chains of that magnitude, these are multi-billion-dollar operations. They don't just, they decided to do this off their own bat, on their own. I did not promote my book to Dimmock or Angus and Robertson or the Book Depository. I didn't promote it to any of them. They found my book on their own. They decided to stock my book. And they don't just do that to any old book, okay? It has to be a really, really fine piece of literature for them to actually go out and say, geez, this is actually really great. We like this. We're going to put this on our shelf. It makes no sense. And you know what? I think that it was Rich that was just saying it then, that, about having to sort through the rubbish music, rubbish engineering. It also goes to rubbish romance literature, because I've posted a photo on my Facebook page in the last week. And this photo basically shows the supposed top 10 romance books on Amazon at that time, okay? And 8 of them were complete and utter rubbish. They were produced by, they weren't produced by individual authors. They were produced out of what's called romance mill, which means that people are paid to basically write, cheap, trashy romances. When you read my book, that is not the sort of romance that I write. I write romance novels. They will end up becoming classics of English literature, because they are written to that quality and they are written to that standard. And I'm the sort of person who, when I'm rereading my own book, I will find a full stop missing and I'll go back and I'll put the full stop in. Does that make sense, Vincent?
It absolutely does. And Guineith, I'm not going to read it on the radio, but I've got an email from you that's written as well as any fine book. I'm talking about it is written in the style, in the clarity of our founding fathers. It's that good. And this is just a quick email from Guineith to Vincent. It's as simple as that. It is, the punctuation is right. It's not written like D's, Do's, and Dem guys. It is written as a scholar would write it, which is what you are. So,
yeah,
I don't know how else to say it, class. Guineith is brilliant in her writing. Brilliant. As good as the best that I've seen. Seriously. No exaggeration. The punctuation, the sentence structure, the content, and the delivery, it's all there. It's all there.
Yeah. Another thing as well, if anybody wants to go and see a bit of a review of my book and what some of my readers have to say, there's a website out there called www.goodreads.com. And apparently it's the go-to place for people who want to find the next book to read. They don't sell books as such, but, authors can go or people who love books can go and they can put the book that they love onto Goodreads. And I have been able to set up a Goodreads author's account, and reviews of my book are found, short summaries called a blurb. Blurbs of my book, the cover, and links to places where you can buy them are found on Goodreads.com. Okay, that's GOODREADS.com. And Goodreads has millions and millions and millions and millions of members. It's free to join. I think they earn their commissions from book sales, where if you click on the link to buy the book, then Goodreads gets a commission off of that. And as well as that, they do have advertisements on their site as well. But yeah, this is it. And I'm actually in the process of editing my third book. And just this morning, or yesterday morning now, I began to write my fourth book. And I wrote the first chapter of my fourth book yesterday morning. And it is a serial. It's a sequence of books. They're all in the same fictional universe. But the fictional universe that they're based on has its roots in historical reality. So you will see historical figures pop up in the book, namely Bartholomew Roberts and George Wilson. Although because it's a romance novel, and they don't die. In the history books, they both died. Okay, they both died within probably about a few months of each other, actually. It's like I say, but you can't do that with a romance novel. It breaks the rules. There's supposed to be, if it's really a romance and not a tragedy, then there has to be a happy ever after ending for it to really be a romance novel. I went out and I studied the structure of a romance novel, and I learned how to write a romance novel. I did a great deal of research on, romance authors and romance publishers. I looked into their submission guidelines and what they are looking for and what their readers want. And specifically, the romance publisher that I studied when I was studying how to write a romance novel I studied Harlequin, Mills and Boon. That was who I studied. But they did something really, really stupid, Vincent. Do you know what Harlequin, Mills and Boon did?
Let's hear it.
They rejected my novel submission. And I say, well, you've missed out.
Well, here's how I look at that.
Yeah.
I look at that as when I used to have a job, there was an old saying, "Hey, don't do such a good job because you're making the rest of us look bad." I have a feeling that that's what this was all about, that you would make the rest of them look bad. Still there? Did I lose Guineith? Yeah. Hey, Guineith, you still there? Hey, Guineith? Oh,
Can
okay.
you hear me now?
Yeah, what happened? Yeah.
I think
what
I
happened?
accidentally pressed the mute. I think that I accidentally pressed the mute button.
Okay.
So
all right.
I was trying to unplug something from my phone, and I accidentally pressed the mute button. But yeah,
Did you hear
that you're right. And the other thing is that my novels are not politically correct. And Mills and Boon actually have it in their submission guidelines that novels must be politically correct. And I basically read that and went, well, I'm not going to do that. So, yeah, there's non-politically correct bits in there. And I'm not going to say what they are because that would spoil it for people who want to go out and read them. But if you want some good old-fashioned literature that is swashbuckling, that is exciting, that is saucy, that actually has a plot, then, go and buy my books, because you will absolutely not regret it. If you go on to Goodreads and you type in The Lover of the Pirate King in the search book on Goodreads, you'll read a review of what a reader thought of my book. And, you know, this is it, or books, both of them. The Wicked Lady and the Highwayman is the prequel to The Lover of the Pirate King. And the series is called The Tang Cartel Chronicles. And so the Wicked Lady and the Highwayman basically describes the origins of the Tang Cartel. And so the Lover of the Pirate King is how the Tang Cartel progressed through time and what became of it. And basically the whole rest of the series is going to be how the Tang Cartel.
Guineith Isaacs is with us. Guineith, how long is the process from when you decide to write a book until you have finished the book?
Okay. For actually writing the book, the first draft can take as little as 9 days. Okay. For about a 25,000 word book. That's a book of approximately 150 to 250 pages, depending on how I set out the typesetting. But after that process, I will read the book maybe 100 times, going through and checking it and fixing spelling mistakes, typos, grammatical errors, things that don't make sense, putting bits in, taking bits out, tightening the writing, making it sound better, and I will read it out loud maybe a dozen or 2 dozen times from beginning to end as the final stage in the proofreading process. So the proofreading process, let me put it this way. I finished writing The Wicked Lady and the Highwayman in the middle of, probably the end of December last year, the middle or the end of December last year, but it was only published on October the 28th of this year. It's only been published for 1 month. During that time, I would go through and I would read the whole thing from beginning to end, and I would, like I say, just going through and proofreading, editing, fixing typos, spelling mistakes, punctuation errors, and such like. And the final stage of the process is doing what's called typesetting, which is you go through, you put the page numbers in, you set it out in the 6-inch by 9-inch format, which is the standard for that type of book for paperbacks. And they have various sizes of paperbacks, but I like the 6-inch by 9-inch because they're nice and easy to hold. And, you can see the words clearly. And, what I will do in that final stage, which is probably about between 2 and 4 weeks, I'll go through and I'll typeset it. I will check the font. I'll go through, if it needs illustrations, I'll source the illustrations and I'll put the illustrations in. And then I'll do the cover design. I'll write the blurb. I do the whole thing from beginning to end. I don't outsource anything. So the whole thing that you see on Amazon, the layout of the book page on Amazon, the author page, that's all my work. And I don't think any author does that, Vincent. The cover design, the whole work, the whole 9 yards, all my work. I don't think anyone does that anymore. I don't think anyone ever really did. You know? Does that make sense, Vincent?
Yeah, and from what I've learned, an author's family may buy 10,000 copies, 20,000 copies of a book as soon as it's published. And then it's instantly a bestseller because it got 10,000 copies sold, like instantly. But the author's family bought the books. So what I'm saying is there is misleading information. And I believe that Joe Kennedy, the father of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, did that for his children. I believe that is the case. So, you wonder about Michelle and Hillary and their book sales. Who actually bought them? Who would actually read those? I've never had any desire to read either one of those books, from Michelle or Hillary or Barry. None of them. So who actually is buying these things? Are they buying them themselves to put them on the bestsellers list? I wonder.
I think
it's kind of like,
probably are.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah. It's kind of like these appliance reviews, and you go and you read about who has, best refrigerator, best freezer, best whatever, and it seems like these reviews are absolutely glowing, and you look at the product and you go, no, impossible, can't be, and it's because these are advertisement reviews, and then you try to find the real reviews, and it's hard to find them. So here we are if you look up Thanksgiving Today class, you'll get a chance to see the first search result being JCPenney's sales. Yeah. So we're being manipulated. Guineith, thank you so much for being with us today.
That's all right. You have a great week, won't you?
You too.